Joke of the day for you. What does Destiny 2 and a prostitute have in common? They're both paid in advance to waste your time and fuck you over. The only difference is, at least you might feel slightly satisfied after a prostitute is done with you. You know, even the YouTube owner will probably laugh at that joke since he can go fuck himself every day. Now look, for the 8 people still paying attention to this game, Destiny 2's next DLC is coming out May 8th, and they're going to call it Warmind. On the 24th, Bungie will be doing their reveal hype stream, giving footage to all their community ass lickers to promote the game, and it will most likely fall flat, and a grand total of 20 people might come back to the fucking game. When this DLC fails, and it will fail, then Bungie and Activision might want to consider something drastic in September, which is release their biggest DLC free to at least a certain part of the community. Now, before I get into that, let's get into a couple obvious predictions. The Warmind DLC is obviously not going to change Destiny 2. It might make some small improvements, but otherwise we know it's not going to be a game changer. We know that already. Bungie knows that, and they all but acknowledge that as well. When they confirmed the release of the Warmind, it came with an updated roadmap for the future with improvements and changes that are coming. Warmind is coming with some separate changes that players certainly want. Vault space, improvements to exotics, exotic masterworks, private matches for the Crucible, but the big items that people want, such as gun randomization and weapon slot changes, they're not coming until September. But a curious little nugget of info happens to be in that roadmap, and that states that Crucible maps are going to be available for the entire community without the DLC. And I'll get into that a little bit more later when I get into the meat of the topic, but going back to the Warmind DLC for a second, without knowing anything about it yet, the assumption is the size of it is probably going to be slightly bigger than Curse of Osiris. You know, Curse of Osiris was widely bitched at for having a stupid-ass story, limited content, and missing out on an opportunity for procedurally generated content or fucking gun rolls with the Vex's infinite possibility storylines. I'm under no impression that Bungie is trying to add more content to the Warmind than originally planned, but chances are they will see what pissed people off the last time and try to avoid that again. The playable area, or at least the size of the DLC map anyway, it's already predetermined. And that occurred way before people ever said that Mercury was too small. So whether the frozen wastelands of Mars are bigger or smaller, now hopefully it's bigger, that was already predetermined well before the Curse of Osiris actually released. You know that they've been working on that shit for a while, and if the rumors are really true, then this content is just another idea that was cut from Destiny 1. Now, I'm not going to get into whether or not this is cut Destiny 1 content, whether this was just an idea, if it was part of the original story, or if any of the playable area that we aren't getting is more finished content like the Leviathan before they launched the game. But for the sake of my point, the size of the Mars DLC was set in advance well before people started shredding Curse of Osiris for Mercury being a fucking giant goddamn donut with no sparrow. So let's assume that in this DLC, we're going to get, what, 2 or 3 strikes at most? Maybe a PlayStation exclusive strike, probably 3 exotic armors per character, 5 to 8 exotic guns, maybe another 2 to 4 legendary sets, including a Mars planetary set. We're going to get a raid layer on its own version of its armor and weapons. We're going to get probably 3 to 4 Crucible maps, maybe another 15 legendary weapons or so, probably some Trials guns, and a shitload of cosmetic junk from Tess Everest. Let's even go a step further and say this raid layer is awesome. These exotics are pretty damn worthy of being exotic. They give us a better public event, and they come up with reasons to play Lost Sectors. Do you think that's going to bring back the player base? I don't. It might. Doubtful it might. But in all likelihood, the people who have left the game are waiting for major improvements to the game. Not minor improvements. Not paid for improvements. Bungie has been making all these minor improvements to the game. And even then, these minor improvements are not enough to really bring people back. Players want major changes to the game. Basically, we want an overhaul to the game. And even if we get an overhaul, people still might not return, and they're playing all the other cool games that are coming out right now, which leads me to the crux of the problem. What is it going to take to get players back? I don't think the Warmind DLC is going to break the servers overflowing with people who want to return to the game. Some are going to come back, but chances are it's going to be people like me who bought the season pass and have already paid for this bullshit. And look, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who are like me, who saw Destiny 1 made improvements by the end of its lifespan, and these improvements should have been expanded on in the sequel. Little did we know, Bungie would shit the bed, fuck up the sequel by giving it to Mark Noseworthy and that bearded meatball Luke Smith, so we can't fix that shit. We paid our money already for this shit. But those who didn't pay their money yet, who the fuck will want to? What does this DLC offer that will make people want to play Destiny 2? People don't want to play Destiny 2 as it is, so what's the purpose of this shit going to serve in the future? It's a pretty safe bet. This DLC is not going to make much in the way of sales. The Season Pass already paid for this shit. The a la carte sales, the people that are going to spend 20 bucks on it right now, that's going to be absolutely awful. If this DLC doesn't bring back people because it doesn't change the game enough, you have to think that fall DLC, you know, the one with all the big changes, like the weapon slot changes and the random gun rolls or whatever the fuck they want to call, you know, it's probably like a Taken King type improvement to Destiny 2. That's probably their only chance of getting some of these players back, and that shit has a very thin margin of keeping players back. I mean, you have to realize, the game has deteriorated so far past the point of what Destiny 1 has done. You know, with Black Ops 4 coming out, Red Dead Redemption coming out in the subsequent months, Destiny 2 is going to need something to entice people to come back. And that's why I say, it's time to put Destiny's DLC, at least, on a free-to-play path. At this point, Bungie has damaged their franchise to the point that it's very difficult to recover from. Yes, Destiny 1 had issues, and the game needed help, but it was a new franchise that fans figured they could provide some input to improve, which happened. It took 3 years and all that extra fucking money from us to get that. But Destiny 1 was finally in a decent state at the end of its life support. Destiny 2 went backwards on meaningful content, and not just total content, but a reason to run the content in the game with worthless loot and irrelevant power system. Basically, Destiny's core is rotten. That's the problem. No matter what fixes Bungie tries to make, how much content they offer, fans don't see a reason to pay more money again just to hope the game gets fixed. The Warminds DLCs are going to prove that point. Warminds play numbers are going to prove that point. At this point, Bungie, Activision, Bungievision, Acta-Bungie, you gotta come up with whatever fucking name you want for them. The DLC at this point should be free. At the very minimum, the next DLC should be free for those who purchased the Season Pass and possibly got to the end game in each one of those DLC. They should get the next DLC for free. Reality is, your most loyal fans are tuning out to the game, and that's where the biggest problem is. Because look at this from a free-to-play standpoint. Games that offer free DLC packs and maintain their success are now becoming more popular. Warframe is always going to be the perfect example of this. Overwatch is another perfect example. Fortnite, games that are popular that aren't trying to build people out of DLC prices have gone the fully free route by being funded by cosmetic microtransactions. Now, I know people are going to say, oh shit, microtransactions, here we go again, we're going to get into Eververse and the problems that that shit began with, but the Destiny issues are that they locked content behind Eververse, which was the problem. Ranking up in the game went towards cosmetic shit. Not towards vendors, not towards other items, not towards fucking exotic. It was an absurd circular logical loop that had us getting microtransactions for ranking up. If you want fans to come to the game and keep playing it long term, to make money in the long term, then you pretty much have to almost follow Overwatch's model at this point. The announcement that was made about the Crucible maps for the Warmind DLC, it's a sign that Bungie is waving the white flag right now. The Crucible has fewer and fewer players each day and each week, and splitting up the population isn't going to improve the connections and latency problems in the game. So having all the Crucible maps available, even the DLC ones, to people who don't pay is their way to prevent the community from splitting up even further. It's their way of combining the player base, keeping the community intact by allowing everyone the same access to the game without fragmenting the player base. If you can do that with 3 to 4 Crucible maps, what's preventing you from doing that with, say, strikes, weapons, like the Prometheus lens that was offered to everyone after that glitch was discovered and we got to play laser tag for the weekend. Oh man, that was the most fun I had in the Crucible outside of Mayhem in this motherfucker. But why can't you do it with armor? With raids? I mean, Activision is so worried about money right now, so consumed by the ability to market Destiny as a money-making game that they seem to forgot that players pay money to games that they like playing. If they're not liking Destiny, they're not going to pay for it anymore. I'll be honest. Bungie needs to change their business and pricing model because fans are not coming back to spend money. While the game certainly isn't going to follow the route of Warframe and make every fucking thing free while microtransactioning the shit out of us, it can at least pay attention to Overwatch to see how you can charge upfront for a game to purchase and then roll out content pieces along the way while actually using cosmetics to fund the game. Real cosmetics. have content people want to play, have items people can earn, but at the same time, give us skins to make those items look cooler. Here's how to earn an exotic gun. Here's how to earn the Galahorn. However, if you want to buy the Galahorn skin, you can do so for 99 cents. You can do so for X amount of silver to have the pink camouflage motherfucker camo, whatever you want. That's the way you cosmetic the game with microtransactions. You don't lock every fucking Sparrow, Ship, and Ghost Shell in Test Everest, and then all your rank ups go towards microtransaction rewards. Have the rewards be the actual in-game rewards. But you have to realize this. Without the players actually playing this game anymore, without people falling for their marketing tricks, buying the content all over again, by driving people away who are not going to return, all that potential money is now gone. It's not coming back. It's not going to sell future games. And if you piss people off with the current game, what are the chances you're going to make them want to come back to future games? At this point, the best way to lure people back is going to be with free shit. Free DLC, free events, free strikes, free guns. Whatever you can do to lure people back, it's not going to be by charging them. Guaranteed. As soon as you put a price tag on shit that people already don't like, they're not going to pay for it. They're going to run in the opposite direction and pay for something else they want to play. I get that Activision invested a shitload of money into Bungie, hoping Destiny would be this amazing franchise. You have to realize, though, Bungie has fucked this up 4 or 5 years by now. 4 to 5 years in the running, everything they have done, with the exception of some improvements when they listen to fans, has been nothing but a bunch of fuck-ups. This started as one of the most anticipated next-gen console franchises, to now, it's the fucking laughingstock of this console generation. If you want all that goodwill to come back, if you want the players to come back and play this game, you're going to have to show them you're not willing to bilk us out of each and every dollar. Make the DLC free. I'll guarantee you, if people hear the next DLC is free, that fall DLC, you'll probably get a lot more people coming back than if you were to charge the $40, which you're most likely going to want to charge. Anyways, I know I'll be one of like 6 people that come back to this fucking game. Since I already paid for the Warmind DLC, I'm obviously going to play that shit. Probably won't play it long because there are a number of games that I want to play that are going to be coming out after this. So as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit. And I'll see you guys in the next video.